I do think there are kinds of things that people might refer to as spiritualism that I wouldn't have an issue with because I would relegate them to the land of allegory. So what I mean by that is it's kind of an analytical framework. You can have like an understanding of history that is turned into allegory that you can understand and appreciate as long as you don't allow it to influence any decisions that you make on ethics or on the material world. So a good example of this would be believing in real life legends. So like the 300 Spartans of Thermopylae, right? That is like the story that's passed down through culture of that event has entered legend to the point, or like King Arthur or whatever. Like, or if a person like wants to believe in Robin Hood or stuff like that. So those would be historical examples. Another example would be like if a person has a kind of allegorical belief about what happens after you die, like I don't know, you're the grand consciousness of the world intermingling or something. As what matters to me most is that these sets of beliefs don't affect people's empirical or ethical decision making. Does that make sense? I never ever ever want to have a convo with somebody where a person makes a claim about the world or a claim about what ought be, like a prescriptive or descriptive claim that is rooted in something that can't that's supernatural. You can have empirical stuff and you can have philosophical stuff. Like, obviously, empirics aren't enough on their own. But if you have both of the, like, that's fine, But there's a difference between, like, a philosophical perspective or an axiom and just, like, inserting a supernatural belief. Does that make sense? Does that work? Does that make sense? Are we fine? Is it good? Okay, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's the thing. Hopefully you get what I mean. Another good example would be, like, other kinds of allegory, right? So, like, was Alexander the Great a lion? I mean, not literally, no, right? Like, he was a dude. He died. It happened. He was a person. But, like, in another sense, yeah, he kind of was, right? Like, if you were talking about Alexander the Great in, like, a lesson, like, you were talking about all the cool shit he did, and you were like, he was a lion. Would anyone be like, no, actually, he was a human? That is not true. He is not actually a lion. Like, no, because obviously you're talking an allegory, right? Like, you aren't making an empirical claim, not literally. You're making, like, a kind of broader narrative claim. Does that make sense? Yeah, at that point you're engaging in like narrativization, literature, metaphor, and that's kind of makes life beautiful. Does that make any sense? So stuff like this, I'm fine. I don't want to I'm not saying we should all be Poindexters where we can only make statements that can be fucking measured with a ruler or whatever. Just it's about any descriptive or prescriptive claims that are being supported by, just a supernatural belief. That would be the issue. But I think there's plenty of room to make life beautiful without doing stuff like that. Would you be okay with Jungian archetypes? Well, isn't that more of an analytical framework? What do you think of believing in a deist god totally separate from physical reality that lets nature follow its course without interacting with humans in the world? Technically, that wouldn't violate my beliefs in terms of the descriptive, prescriptive thing. But in my experience, a lot of people who believe stuff like that let other supernatural beliefs slip in. Keep in mind, I'm not just limiting it to, like, gods or whatever. I feel the same way about astrology, horoscopes, tarot cards, fortune telling, any kind of, like bone reading, just any of that shit. I feel the same way about all this magical thinking. It's all magical thinking. That's what I mean. That's the issue I have. Because then people use that information to make ethical or material claims about the world. No fun allowed. True. What do you think of virtue ethics? Cringe. That being said, like, please keep in mind, just because I'm, like, drawing a line here doesn't mean that you should be fucking cringe in real life, okay? I have religious friends. I fucking hung out with Christians and Jews and Muslims and Hindus growing up, and I was an annoying fucking Reddit atheist back then too. And you know what you do? You don't be weird about it. Like, who the fuck cares? First of all, you're not gonna fucking change anyone's mind being a dipshit to them, like, have you considered actually your need to leave to pray multiple times a day is actually highly illogical? Like, no, shut the fuck up. There's one thing worse than being religious, and it's being that guy, okay? So don't do that. I think religion should be opposed militantly as an institution, but individually. It's like what Michael Brooks used to say, right? Be harsh to institutions, be kind to people. Like that, right? Like, religion as an institution is destructive and blah-de-blah, Religion in people can be destructive sometimes, but it's also a really deeply held belief, and you're not going to move them over by arguing with them overwhelmingly, and people are just trying to live, right? You get what I mean? How do you set an argument about ethics from somebody with a different ethical foundation? You hit them on the head. It's a big fucking meme with this channel, but the issue that I've found is, given that it's my job to argue with people, man, if somebody has a different set of axioms, holy shit, it is a pain in the ass to try to convince them of anything. Oh my god. It is so fucking annoying. Jesus. Yeah. Vaush, I really think your new anti-theism arc does nothing to push your rhetoric. Nope, stop. Stop with the optics shit. This is what I believe. Obviously, if I wanted to refine every position that I hold to like the most optically effective, then you can't believe that's me, right? That's the least me. I am the furthest YouTube leftist from will quiet down about his beliefs for the sake of optics. There's a spectrum with hundreds of people on it, and I am the farthest away from where you want me to be of all of them. It's not my role. But again, I wish I could be more chill while I was talking with Ocean Keltoy. It did really bug me how he kept doing the, like, I would criticize magical thinking as a thing, and he'd be like, ah, yeah, well, there are bad parts of it. It's like, no, 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 no. It's alright, White Nervosa, we'll hit you with a rock last. Can you explain how saying religion bad makes a difference? I'm anti-theist. What's the difference between spiritually vulnerable and vulnerable in different ways? You can't convince them either way, so what are you going for here? Can't they just have beliefs that I express? No, it's about, like, cultural attitudes. Look, I don't think you can really, like, sit a person down and convince them on this one-to-one, always, not reliably. But a lot of people listen to me, you know? Maybe there are people who are younger, and maybe I can move them from, like, indifferent to militantly anti-theist, right? Or maybe there are people who are religious, but most of their religious beliefs are rooted in a kind of misconceived logical position. I can move maybe a little nudge. And even if I can't nudge a single person, I still think there's value in being forthcoming about your beliefs. Yeah, White Nervosa, but at the end, that's like 8 billion people that come first. That's a defensible, reasonable argument, Wash. Why the fuck can't you just say that? I did just say that. By the way, I've never contradicted that either. Keep in mind, even while talking with Ocean Keltoy, at no point did I make any statement on, like, being mean to religious people. I even said multiple times through it, there are religious people in my community. I've told them they have a place here. I want a coalition bill with religious people. Yeah, at no point have I ever said religion is a fucking hole in your brain. Magical thinking is rotting you. But I don't hate you just because you've got a little bit of rot. Lots of people have rot. You might have said religion is a mental illness. And that what? I got a problem with mentally ill people? Come on, whoa. Half of you fucking people are autistic. I'm not backing off that, though. In all practical senses, being schizophrenic and having a convinced religious belief that you're being stalked by a invisible spiritual creature are, in a practical sense, they were at the very least like 90% overlap. His audience got mad you said cuck. Yeah, I don't think his audience is edgy like mine. That's okay. What's the line between ideology and religion? That really depends on your definition of either. There are multiple, like, sociological theorists who have different definitions of either. Broadly speaking, when I say ideology, I'm just referring to a person's, like, framework for understanding the world. And when I talk about religion, not in the Durkheimian sense, but religion broadly, I'm talking about any kind of, like, structured supernatural belief or any kind of magical thinking or whatever. Well, not any kind, you know. It's a broad thing. It's broad. Do you sincerely believe I have 90% overlap? Wait, White Nervosa, do you think there's an invisible spirit that's following directly behind you, like, right now? Like, all the time? No? Okay, yeah, then no, you're fine. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying all religious thinking is like that. I'm saying that, like, believing that religiously would fucking, in a diagnosable or material sense, overlap heavily with, like, schizophrenia. Are you a moral subjectivist or realist? I'm a moral anti-realist. This seems like not all religion. Well, I mean, there are. I didn't make the claim that all religion was schizophrenia or whatever. Just that specific thing, if motivated by a religious belief. His chat also accused you of being pro-human sacrifice for some reason. I love human sacrifice. Okay, but like Vaush, you have to admit there's a difference between believing that for no reason and believing that because everyone else around you does, right? Well, that would only reinforce my belief that in a lot of cases, like, some religious beliefs are just, like, broader manifest mental illness socialized. Think of death cults, right? Like death cults where Jonestown shit or whatever. It's like all the things that can break in a brain can happen socially as well, right? Like that shit, like all the stuff that can go wrong in a brain, it doesn't have to be like some chemical imbalance directly in your brain, like some personal medical thing. Socially, people can be conditioned into essentially identical behaviors, though I don't know if you could treat that with the same medication. I don't think you could, actually. So that's really dangerous. Careful, Vaush, you're starting to sound like an edgy Reddit atheist. I have this entire conversation. Yeah, Koopa Shell. The hell is like a really fucking abusive thing to believe. Is it okay to accept astrology for goth girl pussy? Yes. Teletech, like I've already said, for coalition building, you can choose your criticisms wisely, but that doesn't mean you can't ever talk about it. Wait, what is this in chat? My issue is that Vaush thinks spiritual religion is bad because the second you step off a golden materialist narrative about the world, you become impossible to reason with. Yes. But that isn't what empiricism is even capable of saying about reality. No. It's not. No. It is just that belief in magical thinking and any belief about the world or about ethics that is informed by any superstition, religious thinking, supernatural, whatever, anything like that. If you have a position, ethical or material, that is informed by that, you can't be argued out of it logically, because you can construct logically consistent beliefs with incorrect presuppositions that can't be disproven. That's the concern. It doesn't mean that if you're religious, you're instantly irrational or whatever.